Here's what's coming up next on the Holo Movement Purpose Lab.
Hi, my name is Senka Caro. I'm founder of LightNet, and my passion and purpose is to remove the word impossible from your mind. I am here today with Danette Wolpert Holman. She is the founder of the Illuminate Film Festival, which pulls together conscious films from around the world and runs a festival that is 11 days. It's 4 days in person, and from the 5th to the 11th of May, it is online. Holo Movement is a huge supporter of Danette and her work and the film festival. Why? Because stories change the world. And you are going to hear about that today as she tells you a story about how she discovered her intuition from someone who had it in spades. And this was really one of the turning points in her life as she studied at the Miami Film Festival. Check it out.
One day she asked me, because she was the head of theater operations there, and she asked me one day, do you have a flashlight and a t-shirt? And I was like, why would I have a flashlight and a t-shirt? We were in the office. And she's like, well, because this was during the festival, and we had like a major guest, right? A major filmmaker and actor, coming to our big main venue that night. And she's like, I don't know, but I know that I have to have batteries in a t-shirt. Okay. And I'm of course curious as to okay, where is this going? And sure enough, that night at the Miami Film Festival, a volunteer snags his shirt on the sconces, in this old historic theater. And it's all ripped. And of course, anyone have a t-shirt? And then, as the main guest is being walked down the, theater aisle to be, sat in their reserved seating, right? The flashlight goes out because the batteries are dead, right? So this was one of those, no way. Are you for real? No way. And this is when I started to learn about connection and about intuition, and that our brains are doing a very small percent of what they're capable of. But when you are truly, really tuned in and connected to the universe, that intuition strengthens, and there's a whole nother way to live your life. But I had to go out and figure out how. And so I left my job at the Miami Film Festival, and I decided I would give myself a year to travel and find the answers. Illuminate 2025 is coming up. It's May 1st through the 4th in person, and then May 5th through 11th online. The theme is looking through the lens of love. And I think this is just so timely because love, look, it's cliche, love makes the world go round, but it's true. It's true. What if we brought love to everything that's happening in the world, right? And what is possible if we do that? And if we do that as a collective humanity? So we're going to start that flourishing at the festival. And we have many, many stories that have very synchronistically and magically come to us about that very theme. And love leads to action, right? And action leads to change. So that is a theme of one of our major partners, the Holo Movement. And we are coming together, right, to spark through storytelling, right, the aha moments and the realizations and the up-leveling, right, and the breakthroughs in these films. And then we turn them into discussions so that we can integrate them, and immersive activities, we call it real integrations, so that we can really actually make that a part of who we are, and then together create action. So let's see, we have some pretty amazing films. One is called The Wisdom of Happiness, and it features the Dalai Lama, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. And there are some pretty amazing quotes that he shares in this film that will make you just stop and exhale, especially given where we are, where the world is at this moment. And it might have even been something you've heard before, but in this moment, it means something completely different. There's a film called Between the Mountain and the Sky. And if your heart hasn't burst open from the film you just saw, it will during this film. And it is about a woman who just out of high school, she takes a gap year, and she finds herself working in an orphanage. And instead of going the traditional route, she finds her purpose very early on in life and decides to open an orphanage in Nepal. And that's all I'll say about it, but it is one of the most heart-opening films I have ever seen. We have really interesting guests coming as well. We have Lynn Twist, who's the founder of the Pachamama Alliance and the Soul of Money, and environmental, just environmentalism and the connections between ourselves and nature is really also a major theme, because, right, bringing love to that whole ecosystem, rather than us feeling like we're superior, things like that, is a big part of the festival as well. And so, Lynn Twist is really a major manifester in that space. And we also have Matt and Joy Khan, who are also very much like wisdom teachers in that space of love. Matt has been a best-selling author for over 10 years. He wrote Whatever Arises, Love That. That was his first book. And has wrote 3 since, and have, I don't know, like 20 or 30 million YouTube, followers. And they are incredibly grounded, high frequency, wise people. And they have a lot to share in alignment with looking through the lens of love. Anyway, I could go on and on and on, but there are 4 in-person days of inspiring films, consciousness raising films. We have all immersive activities in the morning, meditation and yoga and Reiki and all of the good things to get us into that, high frequency zone. And then on top of that, we have, really amazing discussions. We have parties, of course, because we got to be in our joy, right? And also a film industry hive, which is a conference day for film industry professionals, filmmakers, producers, financiers, distributors, right? Actors, all of that, to connect people to elevate the quantity, quality, accessibility, and impact of conscious cinema. I still feel like, okay, I'd love, if we had more funding, what would I love to do? I'd love to start an Illuminate Institute. And that Illuminate Institute would be the entity in the world that basically works all year round to make conscious cinema like the biggest niche in the film industry, the dominant niche in the film industry, right? What would be needed to make that happen? You would need, first of all, a hell of a lot of funding. You would need to do the research and get the data. How does an actual conscious story impact the audience in a tangible way that then impacts their behavior, not only in the immediate term, like mood and things like that and perspective shift, but that actually translates into short-term and long-term behavior, right? So nobody's done a study on that. Not conscious cinema. They've done studies on social impact cinema, right? Like Participant was the organization that started doing all those qualitative surveys and, on food films or this or that. And okay, how has that helped the planet and climate change and blah, blah, blah. They've been able to quantify that. But paradigm shifts, right? Up-leveling in consciousness, changes in like worldview, right? And shifts in consciousness have never been quantified, and therefore never, people, financiers and distributors and things like that can't right now definitively say this film that is uplifting people spiritually or whatever is actually going to change the world. There's no evidence to support it right now. But what if we were to invest in creating that evidence? Because nobody's actually just even doing it. And even if it's whatever, surveys and long-term studies and tracking people over 5 years, and, I would love to do that. And at the same time, build the entire network, right? Because we have been doing that through the annual, conscious film convergence at Illuminate. But that's like 3 days. I want to do, this should be done all year round, right? This should be done all year round. And we should have all the tools to help all the real stakeholders realize that this is highly in demand in the world, right? That it's going to lead to real, tangible change backed by data, and that everybody has this in them to create this type of, this type of storytelling, and that the world would be just such an amazing place if we did that, and that movies should be considered not just for like how engaging they are and how good the production values are and, who's in it, but how it actually shapes the world. That's not even the equation in the film industry right now. What if that became a factor? And then what if someday it became the driving factor, right? Like if our world was ever in such grave danger that like it could be gone in a month, you better believe that would become factor number one. So like, this is just the next onion layer of my purpose and how it's going to manifest, right? But if I could do that next, that's what I'd be doing. Because talk about change, talk about impact. I mean, to me, that could just like legitimately, tangibly help us help the world we all know is possible materialize.
For more, watch the full episode, which will be aired on Monday. Or you can find this story on our podcast, Awaken Your Purpose. To find your passion and purpose, join us at hollowmovement.net.